In the quiet suburban town of Springfield, New Jersey, the year 1972 was marked by an unnerving event that would forever alter its peaceful facade. A teenage girl's disappearance concluded not with closure, but with a scene so bizarre and disturbing, it birthed a dark legend that continues to haunt the community to this day. This is the chilling unsolved story of Jeannette DePalma. The grim discovery began with an ordinary dog doing an extraordinary thing. Detective Miller, who worked the case, recalls the moment the investigation was thrust into motion. It started with a dog, he recounts. Came trotting out of the woods near Hudile Quarry carrying, well, it wasn't a stick, it was a human forearm. Alarmed, local police swiftly organized a search party and ascended the steep wooded incline locals ominously called Snake Hill. As officers meticulously combed through the dense undergrowth, their search led them toward a steep rocky cliff face, the site of a discovery that would defy all logical explanation. Atop that desolate cliff, searchers found the decomposed remains of 16-year-old Jeannette DePalma, who had been missing for 6 weeks. But the scene itself was what truly unnerved investigators. She was deliberately placed, Detective Miller explains, his voice low, lying on a bed of leaves, almost peaceful. But then you saw the other things. The area around the body was arranged in a way that suggested something far more sinister than a simple homicide. There were crude symbols carved into the surrounding trees and stones laid out in deliberate, unsettling patterns. It felt wrong, Miller adds, it felt ritualistic. The disturbing nature of the scene immediately fueled speculation of occult involvement. Dr. Eris Thorne, an expert on cultural history, places the event in its historical context. You have to understand the time, he says, seated in a study filled with old books. This was post-Manson family. The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby. The occult was in the cultural zeitgeist. The public's imagination was primed for such theories. When a body turns up surrounded by what looks like a makeshift altar, people aren't going to think it was a simple crime, Dr. Thorne notes. They're going to think witchcraft. Flickering images of pentagrams and an old photograph of the smiling teenager underscore the clash between innocence and the dark theories that began to swirl. Because Jeannette had been missing for several weeks, her body was too decomposed for the medical examiner to determine a definitive cause of death. With no forensic evidence to guide them, the official investigation quickly stalled. The vacuum left by the lack of answers was soon filled by fear and rampant speculation. No witnesses, no murder weapon, no motive, Detective Miller recalls with a somber expression. We questioned people, but nothing stuck. The occult theory, however, took on a life of its own within the community. It was all anyone talked about. It gave a reason for the senseless, he says. But was it the right one? We never knew. Ultimately, the case was never solved. It was simply absorbed. Absorbed into the folklore of the town, becoming a chilling local legend. It remains a haunting story about a girl found on a hill, surrounded by dark whispers and unanswered questions that have never truly faded away. And then, nature itself seemed to intervene, to cleanse or to conceal. A massive flood hit the evidence storage facility, where the crucial items from the DePalma case were being held. The waters rose, swamping boxes, destroying files, contaminating whatever physical evidence remained. The case files on Jeannette DePalma were gone, washed away, coincidence, or something more. For those who believed in the occult, it was a sign, a demonstration of power. The forces that had taken Jeannette were now erasing the very memory of the crime from the official record. The flood didn't just destroy evidence, it fed the legend. For decades, the case grew cold. It became a local ghost story, a cautionary tale told about Snake Hill, but the questions never truly died. In the years that followed, dedicated journalists and amateur investigators began to peel back the layers of the legend. They sought out the truth that lay beneath the talk of witches and Satanists, and what they found was perhaps in its own way, just as horrifying. Lingering police reports, those that survived the flood or were in the possession of individual officers, hinted at a different possibility. Some sources claimed that a later, more advanced review of the autopsy findings suggested the presence of drugs in Jeannette's system. Had she been at a party on that cliff? Had something gone terribly wrong? Had a drug-fueled accident been staged to look like a ritual killing to throw off the investigation? The inconclusive cause of death now took on a new, sinister ambiguity. Was it a ritual or a cover-up? And then, the suspects re-emerged from the mists of time. their profiles sharper in the hindsight of modern profiling. That local man with a violent streak? Was he capable of constructing such an elaborate scene to misdirect the police? Was the occult tableau the work of a cunning, calculating killer, using the town's own superstitions as his shield? Think about it. What better way to hide a murder than to dress it up as a myth? To make it so strange, so unbelievable that it becomes a parable instead of a police case? The killer, if they were clever, wouldn't just have to hide their tracks. They would have to bury the very logic of their crime in a narrative so powerful, it would eclipse the truth. The witchcraft theories, then, may not have been a distraction from the truth. They may have been the very weapon used to conceal it. So we are left at the edge of the cliff, looking down into the fog of history. The body of Jeannette DePalma was found on an altar of stone and symbol. But was that altar real? Or was it a stage meticulously set by a mortal killer, with a brilliant, monstrous grasp of human fear? Did Jeannette fall victim to a coven of witches, a group lost in a frenzy of dark ritual? Or did she meet her end at the hands of someone she knew, someone who then used the specter of the occult as the perfect alibi, knowing the town would be all too willing to believe in demons rather than face the monster living next door? The flood took the evidence. Time has taken the witnesses. All that remains is the hill, the story, and the chilling, unanswered question that hangs in the air, as palpable today as it was in 1972. What truly happened to Jeannette DePalma on Snake Hill? The woods have secrets, the stones remember, but they do not speak. The case remains unfolded.